It's time for the Splash Live from Civic Center TV, featuring stories from and about people like you in the Greater West Bloomfield area. Simulcast on cable, 89.3 Lakes FM, social media, and the web. Now live from Green Media Center on Walnut Lake Road, it's the Splash Live.
Live, local, social. It's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. I'm your host, Jake Sheff, going over all of the biggest news from right here in Greater West Bloomfield. If you're out and about in Greater West Bloomfield today looking for something good to eat, you can stop by the Civic Center campus in West Bloomfield for the delicious delicacy of the week to satisfy your hunger. Our very own Kevin McIntosh has the story.
Virtually every Tuesday during the summer, West Bloomfield Township, Library, Police, and Parks Department organizes a weekly food truck gathering right here in West Bloomfield Civic Center. The special event features local businesses serving various dishes, cuisines, and eats to inspire local residents to get out of the house, support small businesses, and try some new food. I'm here at West Bloomfield Civic Center to check out these food trucks, see what Greater West Bloomfield residents think of the summer tradition and how it impacts these local businesses.
Well, at first I was just returning books, but then I saw the sign saying that they have food trucks today, so I was like, let me take a look. And then I got me a quesadilla, and I looked at the frozen lemonade, so I was interested, so I wanted some.
Food Truck Tuesdays launched in May and runs through September, bringing local flavors straight to the Civic Center.
Well, today, actually, we're serving a special item that we did for Juneteenth called the Harriet, and it's with roasted shiitakes. It's got red cabbage, some pickled onions, and cucumbers, and a garlic aioli, and that's been really, really popular. So we're featuring that today.
We have tons of items. A lot of the popular ones that we get are the walking tacos because they're easy on the go. Kids love those. Our other popular item is our birria, quesabirria. We have birria enchiladas, which not many people have. So they're like, what is that? And they taste them and they're amazing. Tacos from all different types of meats, but quesadillas, burritos, anything you can think of.
And you can even get your caffeine fix. Bowie's Coffee is parked here each Tuesday all summer long.
Yeah, especially for hot days. We have frozen lemonades, iced lattes, hot lattes, smoothies, cold brew, chai, kombucha. So any drink that you need to cool down or warm up, we have it.
With food trucks scheduled through September 30th, it's a perfect way to discover new food and support small businesses.
I think it's a good upstart for businesses, putting it in a community where everyone can visit or do events because the rec center is all the way over there. So having people come from the rec center or to the library is a good opportunity for this business to start booming.
By combining convenience and community, Food Truck Tuesdays highlight West Bloomfield's family-friendly approach to public programming while having a lasting impact on local entrepreneurs.
West Bloomfield is very close to where we're out of and where we typically operate from. So from doing this, we've actually earned some regular customers who kind of found us here, and now they routinely come and see us, every week when we're in Waterford or Clarkson area. So
we've gotten to do a lot of school events for Bloomfield Hills, West Bloomfield, Waterford schools, just from the word of mouth and participating. A lot of the PTOs and everyone has reached out, which has been really awesome.
We've gotten a lot. So we do a lot of catering as well on top of, going to events and stuff. So the nice thing about it is that we do hear oh, I tried some of your stuff at this event or whatever. And they're and we want to do some catering. And that's been probably one of our biggest things is that we've gotten a lot of caterings for that. And it's been amazing.
Carrots, quesadilla, and coffee are some of the many choices you have when you visit Food Truck Tuesdays right here in West Bloomfield. It's a special event that's meant to bring the community together and enjoy this great summer weather. If you find time on your next lunch break between 11:30 a.m. and 1:30 p.m., come by and try some of the food yourself. From the West Bloomfield Civic Center, I'm Kevin McIntosh, Civic Center TV.
Appreciate the story, Kevin. All of that food looked amazing. And today, the truck available is Sourpuss Lemonade with barbecue and pizza available as well. All of that sounds so delicious. I can't wait to see the community out and about enjoying the food and the company. Once again, that is going to be taking place from 11:30 to 1:30, and that takes place every Tuesday. The Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce cordially invites the community to its 17th annual Key to the Township Awards, a prestigious event celebrating local excellence and leadership. This year's ceremony will be taking place on July 30th, beginning at 8:30 a.m. at the elegant Wabeek Country Club located at 4000 Club Gate Drive in Bloomfield Hills. Tickets are priced at $65 for chamber members and $75 for non-members, with reservations and prepayment required by July 25th. Attendees can conveniently purchase tickets online via credit card at www.westbloomfieldchamber.com. But that is going to be a very, very great event honoring so many incredible people throughout the Greater West Bloomfield community. July is a very special month in Greater West Bloomfield because it's National Parks and Recreation Month. In fact, it's the 40th anniversary of Parks and Recreation Month, where we celebrate park and recreation professionals and how they improve the lives of communities across the country. Of course, that means our very own West Bloomfield Parks is celebrating in style. Here to tell us more is West Bloomfield Parks Executive Director Kelly Heyer. Kelly, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Great to see you. Great to see you outside. A lovely day out. Really enjoying the summer. First and foremost, happy Parks and Recreation Month. How is West Bloomfield Parks celebrating this year?
Thank you for that. Well, we have taken the time the last couple years to celebrate Parks and Recreation Month and really celebrate, of course, on our social media. But the new thing that we've been focusing on is Parks and Recreation Professionals Day, which is in a couple weeks, and it takes just a little creativity to bring some fun to our seasonal and our full-time, part-time staff's days. So this year we have planned a hydration station themed with some fun drinks that'll be served up at Lily Pad Springs, Connect, Rack, Marshbank Park, and Drake Sports Park, our main locations throughout the summer.
Wow, all of that sounds amazing. How did this event come together, and how did you guys decide to put something like this together?
Well, the tough thing is when we're celebrating in July, which is an appropriate month to celebrate across the nation, is in Michigan, we've got long days, and our summer programming is going super strong. So all of our locations and all of our programs are in full-blown effect. So how do you work in having a little fun and rewarding staff while they're working? So the last couple of years, we've tried to get creative and what can we do to provide a short lunch or an added break to people's days and still get the work done, because our residents still want quality services every day for the month of July, of course. So last year we did some ice cream floats. This year we're going with the hydration station theme, and which is appropriate because we're now entering into a couple weeks of 80-degree days, it looks like in the forecast, Jake.
That's absolutely right. I mean, I was just on vacation recently. The summer heat is no joke. Very, very important to stay hydrated. And this summer, there's already been some great things with West Bloomfield Parks. There's going to be plenty more things throughout the rest of the summer. How are you encouraging the community to get involved and appreciate the value of local parks and recreation services?
Well, we use a tagline frequently that there's something for everyone here. So if you were looking for some more passive recreation, I'm here right at Marshbank Park. You can see behind me, you can hop on the walking trail, which will be under construction shortly, starting in August, by the way. We're replacing a portion of our walking path. But you can hop on the nature preserve trails. You can hop on the West Bloomfield Trail. We've got trails at Drake Sports Park and Pine Lake. So lots of passive recreation. But if you're looking for more social opportunity, of course, check out our Marshbank Park music series that's launching this Wednesday. So we have live concert in the parks for the Wednesdays in July. But if you want some water fun, we've got some kayaking programs, perhaps that might interest you, to Lily Pad Springs, of course, our splash packs. So Splash Park. So there's something for everyone here at West Bloomfield Parks. It's just a matter of what you desire and how social you want to be.
That's right, something for everyone, and everything is available to help make this summer the best it can possibly be. Now, we've talked about how this is providing so much fun for everybody, but how do West Bloomfield Parks contribute to the health and wellness of the community all year round?
Well, we can talk about your mental health, or we can talk about your physical health. So the physical health is a little bit more obvious. So I talked about a little bit of passive recreation, but also you can get into a league or something more cardio or active. So we've got our pickleball programs, we've got our softball. We're soon we'll be doing fall registration for our fall softball leagues. And then, of course, we've got our group fitness. So everything from, if you are low mobility, you want something high cardio, check out our recreation offerings. We've had instructors teaching for us for over 20 years, and we've got a great array of group fitness opportunities. And then let's talk about your mental health. And again, this can be something where you just need to get outdoors, breathe the fresh air, be surrounded with nature. And for example, studies show that just a view of water increases your happiness level. That statistics and data is out there that supports that. To hearing peaceful sounds of nature. And so we've got so many options here. And then, of course, the social aspect. So again, if you can't be in the humidity or the heat, or you're worried about the elements, come check out what we have indoor at the Recreation Activity Center, at our nature room, or even at Connect, our senior center, off of Farmington and 14.
So many great things on display all throughout Greater West Bloomfield. For those just joining us right now on the Splash Live, I'm talking with West Bloomfield Parks Executive Director Kelly Heyer, talking about how July is National Parks and Recreation Month and how West Bloomfield Parks is celebrating the month in style and showing all of their appreciation to the community. Now, Kelly, a lot of people throughout Greater West Bloomfield have been to at least one of the many parks throughout here, but what would you say to someone who hasn't explored West Bloomfield Parks before, and why is now the perfect time?
Well, typically in July, the weather is very conducive to outdoor recreation, and the daylight stays nice and light till later on into the evening. So I'm here at Marshbank Park. We've got a great walking trail. We've got access to Cass Lake, our fishing pier, as well as our kayak. I'm on the playground right now. You can hear some kids just showed up. And this is one of our many playgrounds that we have in our park system, to maybe get out to Drake Sports Park. Drake Sports Park's on the other end of the township, and that offers a lot of sport amenities. And we've got a brand new playground there. And then I would say people need to check out the West Bloomfield Trail, because that is so unique. That is a great lake-to-lake trail, Route 1, that goes from Lake Huron to Lake Michigan, and we own 7 miles of it, and it will get you not only some great cardio, whether you're walking, biking, but you can get great views of nature, and you're going to meet some really great people around the way.
All great spots you just mentioned, Kelly. I've been to each of them several times, and they absolutely provide everything that you just said that they do. Now, the community plays a big role into everything that West Bloomfield Parks does. How has community feedback shaped what you guys put your efforts in to helping to make Greater West Bloomfield as amazing as it could possibly be?
I've got to say, Jake, that our residents are some of the most open, and they give great suggestions, and they're so supportive. So starting back with our master planning and our bond proposal, we are supported by residents not only through our 4 millages, but also with this bond proposal to do some really great things for our park system to set us up for the next 50 years. But anything from a simple phone call, like, hey, there's a tree down in the preserve, to, hey, have you guys ever thought about this program? I mean, West Bloomfield residents are not shy about sharing ideas, but oftentimes they're great ideas and we can respond to them. And we've been able to implement some really quality changes to make sure that our experiences are, we're delivering the experiences that we should be delivering. And it is thanks to the residents being a part of this process too.
That's right. The residents play such a big role in everything. And how can the residents stay informed about everything West Bloomfield Parks has planned, both for throughout the month of July and beyond?
Great question. So we have a weekly email blast that our marketing team puts out. This is like the top 5 things that you need to know in West Bloomfield each week. It's a really great tool to stay connected. And it will also put building closures, we'll put in there park closures, capital improvement updates. So if you aren't signed up for that, you need to sign up for the weekly buzz right now. That's on our website. See us at an event. We always have an information booth on our bigger events. And this is where you can come talk to a staff member. Maybe it's an issue that you have or a concern you have. You just want to get more involved. You want to volunteer with us. We have a lot of quality staff that can answer all of your questions at our events. And then, of course, social media. You watch our Instagram page, our Facebook page. We are always active with our social pages and make sure that we're highlighting not only the events in the past that have happened, but then also getting people excited for what's upcoming.
All great ways to stay informed. Kelly, before we let you go, is there any final words that you'd like to say about West Bloomfield or about Parks and Recreation Month and anything you want to say to the community?
I would say thank you to our residents for supporting us, but then thank you to staff. We have the most hardworking, innovative, creative, dedicated, enthusiastic, and just caring parks team. And it doesn't matter if you're at camp or if you're at lily pad, you're getting waited on the front desk, you're getting picked up by a bus driver. I've never worked in anywhere else that has a more committed team than here at West Bloomfield Park. So if you're listening and you work for West Bloomfield Parks, thank you. Thank you for joining us, this team. We're not only do we have 40 full-time, part-time, round the year people, but then we are joined by 50 seasonals throughout the summertime, and we couldn't do it without you.
Such high praise. And all of that hard work is made possible by every single member of the West Bloomfield Parks team, including you, Kelly. Thank you so much for everything you do, and thank you for joining us today here on the Splash Live.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, always a pleasure, and really looking forward to celebrating National Parks and Recreation Month all throughout the month of July. With the summer heat continuing to rise throughout Greater West Bloomfield, hydration is essential, not just for you, but for your pets as well. Dehydration can occur quickly during hot weather, especially for dogs and outdoor cats. And there are many, many ways to make sure that your pets can stay safe throughout the summer while still enjoying the outdoors. Mike Palmer, the owner of Premier Pet Supply, recently joined us on the Splash Live to tell us how we can keep our pets safe this summer.
Mr. Palmer, thanks for being with us again.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you back on the show as we are now into the thick of the summer season. We've already gotten a little dose of some of the summer heat and humidity that we experience usually later on in the dog days of summer, right away in the first few days. So let's begin with that. When the heat comes in, and we know it affects us quite significantly, how does that often affect our pets, particularly our dogs that are outside for a significant period of time?
Well, I know this weather kind of came out of nowhere because we had a slow start to the season. It kind of hit us. And, you know, the one thing that we have to consider and think about is our pets are wearing a fur coat all the time, right? And so we got to keep that in mind and factor that in, that they don't have a way of kind of like shedding some clothes and putting on their summer clothes. So one thing I would say is just being very observant and conscientious of the temperatures and the times that you're allowing them to be outside. You might want to consider doing your daily walk very early or later in the evening when the weather's cooler. That's definitely a start.
Yeah, it's something that I've sort of employed myself into my daily routines when we have that sort of heat. I have family that lives out west, and that's what they do in Arizona and in California when they have the hottest seasons of the year. People get out in the morning or people get out in the evening, the midday, that's when you stay indoors. A good rule to apply for your pets. On on the other side of that, sometimes you just can't avoid going outside. When it's time for your dog to do their business, they got to go outside, they got to take care of that and come back in. But what maybe are some products or some other actions that people can take to help counteract some of the effects of that heat on their pets in those moments?
For sure. Some of us, we've got pools in back, and the dogs don't want to be left out. They want to hang out with us. And, some of us, and especially in West Bloomfield with all the lakes, definitely are out on the boat and out by the water. So the things to keep in mind and consider is having an area or plenty of spaces where the dog has shade provided, an area where we can really stay cool, making sure that there's clean, fresh, cold water always available to them. So throwing some ice cubes in that bowl from time to time, giving them, even like a summer treat, something that you can do from home easily is take an ice cube tray, throw some bone broth or some goat milk in there, maybe a few treats, and freeze that, or do the same thing inside a toy that will allow it. Freeze that as well and give that to them while they're outside, so it actually keeps them cool and helps them to cool down. A couple of things that we have in our stores that are very, very beneficial are cooling collars. Cooling collars in days past used to be something you would soak with water, throw in the freezer, and then it would just melt really quickly. The ones that we have now are really cool. They're by a company called Bay Dog, U.S. veteran-owned company. And what they have are little gel packs inside the collar that you can throw that whole thing in the freezer. It freezes, you get it on the dog, and it can stay cool for hours.
And that can be really helpful during the summer season, whether we're, in the middle of a heat wave where the heat indices are well over 100 degrees, or we're in a regular summer day where it's in the 80s, but it's full humidity. That can have a big effect on your dogs and your other pets that are outdoors. We think about, too, a lot of people with outdoor cats or with indoor and outdoor cats maybe have set up a catio outside. That heat also going to have a similar effect on them as well. The fur coats definitely come into play. Mike Palmer is with us from Premier Pet Supply, their West Bloomfield location in the Orchard Mall, located on Orchard Lake Road, just north of Maple Road in West Bloomfield Township. Mike, there is some key differences that can tell the difference between when maybe your dog is in danger of heat exhaustion or heat stroke during the summer season versus just regular exhaustion from play. So often when we're playing with our dogs, when we're out for a walk or we've been running around or playing around with them, they'll be panting for a while. What are some of the signs that that's not just regular panting and that's some sort of exhaustion that could potentially be dangerous for our beloved pets?
Sure. Now, panting is normal. Dogs don't have the sweat glands that we do in our skin, so they can sweat in a very small way through their paws and their pads. But panting is the way that they can release that heat from their body. So if you recognize or witness excessive panting where they just seem to be at a point of, lethargy or, just completely not wanting and willing to move any further, it's really important that you get them somewhere where you can get them cooled down, get them in the house. You don't want them overdoing it, and something to consider too. We talked about walks or having them outside. That extreme heat affects them in different ways. What I would recommend people do before you get out there onto a paved area or even the asphalt is feel it. Put your hand on that. If it burns your hand, think about those pads on those feet of theirs. Very sensitive. They're exposed. Asphalt in 85-degree temperatures can get up to 120 degrees. Even concrete can get over 100 degrees. So it's really important that we watch out for that. There are actual cooling doggy boots that we sell in our stores, which are pretty cool. But obviously, just avoiding it altogether if you don't have something like that is really important because they can be injured.
You can do a lot of your local shopping online on premierpetsupply.com. Follow them for even more tips and tricks all throughout the summer and other critical seasons like winter. Some of the opposites of what we see in the summer apply then. They're across social media at Premier Pet Supply. That's Premier Pet Supply across social media. Mike Palmer is joining us on today's edition of the Splash Live. Mike, a lot of these principles we talk about for the summer season, they apply to our dogs in particular that are outside very commonly, but a lot of them also apply to our other pets, cats, even pets like rabbits or guinea pigs along the way as well. So what are some of the similar ways that these high temperatures can affect our other, maybe less common house pets as well?
Sure. It affects them all. Absolutely. Some of them are a little more resilient than others. keeping your smaller pets like your cats, your guinea pigs, your bunnies, your hamsters, your gerbils, whatever it may be, indoors, obviously, but, in an air-conditioned area. And for some people that may not have air conditioning, run some fans in the room, make sure it's well ventilated. You don't want the humidity also affecting them, because that is something that, all those guys are susceptible to. Unless you got a bearded dragon or some type of reptile, they actually love this type of weather, so you're good to go.
And I was at your location earlier on this week in West Bloomfield. I go to that one. I go to the one in Novi. That's closer to where I live as well. And what I love about going in is that both yourself and your team, you are playing a big role in the education of your customers as well. It's not just about getting them to buy those products when you walk in. So especially during this time of the year when they're coming in, maybe even first-time pet owners, it's their first summer with these pets. What role does education play in your everyday at Premier Pet Supply locations like ours here in West Bloomfield?
Yeah, I think it's a huge differentiator. We've got, people that are truly like trained even in nutrition in our stores, and just all aspects, of general care, in the overall health of your animals and pets. So when you walk in our stores, you're not only going to get answers to your questions, you're going to get knowledge-based answers to those questions. And, we may not know everything, but we really know close to just about everything and every aspect that you may endure with your pet. So for the people in the West Bloomfield community and all the other communities that, we are fortunate enough to have our stores in, they find us as a sort and a resource. A lot of them may come to us before they make a vet visit, or in the interim before they can make it to a vet, to see if there's some way that we may be able to help them through a problem or situation prior. We're always going to obviously recommend veterinary care when, it's necessary, but we really pride ourselves in having knowledge-based customer service. It's something you can't get online or in the internet, or sometimes even at the big box stores. We really, truly care. We've got, people that are very invested in educating themselves and in the overall welfare and health of your pets and your animals. And that's why we've been around for over almost 33 years now.
And we want to congratulate you on that as well. Over 30 years of service here in Southeast Michigan, expanding all throughout the local area. You have stores all throughout the place, including right here in West Bloomfield on Orchard Lake Road. Mike Palmer is with us from Premier Pet Supply, with a location, as we mentioned, in the Orchard Mall right here in West Bloomfield Township, as we talk about pet health and some of the risks that come along with the summer season, what you need to be aware of. Of course, more information, helpful tips across social media. You can follow them at Premier Pet Supply. Mike, before we let you go, anything else that our audience should know on this topic before we let you go, or things coming up at Premier Pet Supply this summer?
I'd offer one piece of advice. Some people think it's a great idea to shave a dog down in the summer heat because it'll cool them down. That's a big mistake. The actual dog's fur, believe it or not, insulates them from extreme heat. So that undercoat is really important to remain intact. So keep that in mind. The one thing that I would offer is that end of July, we always run our Customer Appreciation Week. It's a week long, starting July 28th. And we're really excited. We're offering 10% off all food and toppers, 30% off everything else in the store. It's something our customers have really grown to look forward to and mark their calendars for. And it makes us happy that, people get excited for it, because it's our way of saying thank you and giving back to the wonderful support that we get from the West Bloomfield community and the other communities surrounding, the Metro Detroit area.
You can explore their products and see all their store hours from across Southeast Michigan on PremierPetSupply.com. Mike, thank you as always for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. Love it.
A lot of people have pets out there, and it's very important to keep them safe from the summer heat. So we really appreciate Mike for stopping by for that interview and for sharing all this great information to keep in mind throughout the summer. Larry Pliska, founder of West Bloomfield-based Plantera, was inducted into the International Plantscape Hall of Fame for his pioneering work in interior landscaping. Established in 1973, Plantera was one of the first interior landscaping companies in North America, growing into one of the largest in the U.S. under Pliska's leadership. Larry recently spoke with our own Kevin McIntosh to tell us his thoughts on this incredible honor.
We appreciate you for being here.
Yeah, hi. Nice to be here.
Thank you so much. First and foremost, congratulations
on your honor, sir. What does it mean to you to be inducted into the International Plantscape Hall of Fame?
It was a very humbling, unexpected award, and it's the gratitude that I have. It's reflecting 50 years of passion and love for what I do.
And how do you feel like this recognition ultimately reflects your entire journey that you've had with your establishment, Planterra?
How does it reflect? It just, the acknowledgement of recognition is nice to see, and it's nice to have. And like I said, it's totally unexpected. I wasn't planning on even being inducted into the Hall of Fame. But they do this once a year and for the industries. It's called the Tropical Plant Industry of the United States, and actually it's international too. So it is a pretty good size, big deal to be inducted.
I would agree with that. I want you to kind of take us back to the story, the beginning. What inspired you to even start Planterra in, from what I'm seeing, 1973, and talk about some of the challenges you faced while growing it?
Well, you know, I was a draftsman working for the auto company, drawing cars when I was a young guy, and when I graduated from school. And the technology called the CAD system took my job away, so I was no longer a draftsman. So I took a trip to the tropics, and I fell in love with plants. And that started my career. And the challenges weren't immediately recognized because the beauty of the plants, they sold themselves. But I certainly found out and realized how important it was to listen to my customers, to provide good service to them, the best service that I could do.
Well said. Well said. And that just speaks to, you know, how you were recognized for your work and your passion, and how you shifted your careers. You know, that could have been a downfall for a lot of people, but you chose to take another direction based on your interests, and you just organically flowed to this, and that's a beautiful thing. I want you to just briefly speak on how West Bloomfield has influenced the growth and success of Planterra over the years.
Well, West Bloomfield has always been a great growth community. And the location that we are in right now was previously called Walled Lake. The original greenhouses and farm was built by the Johnson family in the 1940s. And I purchased the property back in the 1980s. And the place, you know, this environment has good positive energy and good vibes. And so that's how my company grew once we got established.
Yes, essentially the support from the local community. You also putting your love and your passion out there for people to gravitate towards it and also be interested in it, and to also, you know, hire you for your services as well in their homes, in their business. Speaks volumes. With us right here live on The Splash, owner of Planterra West Bloomfield, Larry Pliska, talking about being inducted into the International Plantscape Hall of Fame. Now, I don't want to hold you up too much longer, sir, but I do want to speak on this. Planterra is now a family-run business. What does it mean to you to see your sons continuing your legacy?
Well, first of all, I am very proud of both of my sons, Shane and Zach. They're running the family business, and they're doing a great job. And they're bringing, you know, they're providing healthy environments for our customers, which brings in fresh air, fresh breathing air, gives you good thoughts, and it provides positive outcomes of our business. There's also, you know, a spiritual sense of dealing with plants, and you know, a lot of people don't realize that our economy depends on the very ecology it's threatening to destroy. And society depends on a healthy economy, but a healthy economy depends on a healthy environment. So I've been saying this for 40 years, that the environment and health go together. And the environment is very important for us to continue our existence. So yeah, I have a lot of gratitude for my two sons that are taking over the company. And when we did the Renaissance Center, the tranquility of nature can provide us peace in our caverns of concrete and steel. And that was inspired by being inside the Renaissance Center. With all the trees that we put in, we had the flying trees, and this was back in the 70s. It was the largest interior installation of plants in the United States at the time.
Wow. Wow.
So you know, so the future of Planterra, I think, includes the growing and continue of providing beautiful environments. I mean, that's what motivated me in the first place.
Right.
Because I was just doing what I love to do, creating a nice environment for people and healthy environments with great plant designs. And throughout the metropolitan area, you'll see atriums that I planted back in the 80s and the 90s, and they're still functioning, they're still alive. We service them all. And we were one of the first companies in Michigan to start this business of interior landscaping.
Nice. Congratulations for being a pioneer in that lane and in our area and doing great work. Any last messages or words or notes for the community before we let you go, sir?
Just the fact that nature is part of our being, and we need to incorporate it as often as we can. That's about it, you know, just live plants and interiors. Like I said, help you breathe better and help you think better, which equals good actions.
Right.
So your reaction to good actions, you know, good actions are inspired by living in a healthy environment.
Well
So
said.
I don't know the best way I could say it.
No, I think that was perfect. And we want to thank you again for adding that new point of view to life and talking about the importance of plants. And congratulations again for being inducted into the International Plantscape Hall of Fame. Once again, owner of Planterra West Bloomfield, Mr. Larry Pliska. We appreciate you, sir.
Thank you.
Such a great honor for someone who's done so much incredible work. Big congratulations to Larry Pliska for his honor, and we appreciate him stopping by here on the Splash Live. One of the big things people are still talking about is how local food industry professionals are applauding the FDA ban on red dye number 3. This went into effect back in, or it is going to be going into effect in January of 2027. That is the timeline for everything to be removed, for red dye number 3 to be banned from all products. And we recently had registered dietitian Hallie Saperstein stop by the Splash Live to share her thoughts and on why this ban is so important.
Thank you for being here, Hallie.
Oh, thanks for having me.
I appreciate you being here first and foremost because this sparked my own curiosity, and I want to kind of get into it. Your initial thoughts on the FDA's decision to ban this red dye number 3.
I think it's fantastic. Definitely a step in the right direction. If I can give you a little bit of history, there's something called the Delaney Clause that was effective in 1958, and it was it's part of the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. And they it was a clause to say that food additives, if they cause cancer in rats or humans, they must be banned. But in the 1980s, they started studying red dye number 3, and they found that it caused thyroid cancer in rats. And so since the 1990s, they've actually been trying to ban it in food. And actually, before they banned it in food, they banned it in makeup. So I found that to be quite interesting, like in lipsticks and things, because they found that wouldn't be safe, but yet it was still in our food. So there's a lot of, yeah, it's crazy. So there's all these watchdog organizations. One is called CSPI, the Center of Science and Public Interest. They've been fighting for years. And finally, it is a priority in the federal government to ban it. So I think it's great for consumer protection and consumer safety, as we've found that it can cause thyroid cancer in rats, and it does cause neurobehavioral issues in people.
First and foremost, thank you for that history lesson. A lot of information that I wasn't privy to, but I'm pretty sure a lot of our audience wasn't privy to as well. With that being said, there's a lot of things that we may or may not know about what's in our food and the things that we consume. So with that being said, how can parents of West Bloomfield be more aware of some of these harmful food additives to make healthier choices for our families?
Great question. First of all, you want to pay attention, stay informed, read the news. It's all over, and try to make better choices. Always buy fresh food over processed. So always, when you're shopping, shop the perimeters of the grocery store, because you're going to find the fresh food. We always say, as children especially, eat a rainbow. Eat all different colors, and you can make your plate vibrant. When your kids come home from school, instead of putting out a processed snack, you could put out fresh fruit, you could put out fresh vegetables, make it fun, put dips out there. Like I said, eat a rainbow. Number two, you could read labels. When you're, to stay informed, look at the back of packages. After I did my recent article for Henry Ford on food dyes, we actually started looking through our labels in our pantry and found there's a lot of hidden food dyes. So you have to definitely, be proactive and look at things. Be creative, find things that you can color your baked goods with. You can use berries, you can use nuts, you can use different things that are going to add color without adding additives. Or unnatural. There's also natural food coloring you can buy. So if you're making cakes and cookies, you can find natural food dyes, just where you'd find your regular food coloring in the baking section, and you can use those. They use turmeric, and they use beet juice and things like that to color things. And then also stay informed by looking at different websites. There's one called safemama.com, and on that website, there's a list of food dye-free snacks. So that way you can try to stock up your pantry and, with those healthier things, and go from there.
It makes sense. But go ahead. Continue, please.
Oh, no, you're fine. You go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, but essentially what I was saying, I just want to bring up what you just said. When you look into your own cabinet, and once you're conscious of these things, you'll start to notice these type of things are in a lot of our different foods and drinks, and like you even said, lipsticks and things of that nature. So what are some of the biggest challenges families will face when trying to transition to this dye-free or additive-free food options?
So the biggest challenge, I think cost may be a challenge.
Yep.
So if you, just to keep in perspective, there's over 3,000 foods that contain red dye number 3. So you have to kind of look through the others, and so you want to, so the challenge could be it's increased production costs to not use this red dye number 3, which actually comes from petroleum. And there's a decreased demand, so at this time, we don't have as many products out there that are without, these dangerous food dyes, but so the cost might be higher. Food additives also keep our foods fresh longer. Not the food dyes in particular, but just food additives in general. They can slow the microbial activity and slow a chemical reaction. So foods might not stay fresh as long if they don't have additives in them. And also, the food might look different to your kids because they're used to having colorful M&Ms and Skittles and things like that. And so just educating our children on, why we're making this change, and hopefully they'll buy into it.
No, I understand that too, especially when you spoke on food looking different, possibly even tasting a little bit different, lasting a little bit different. Once we remove the dyes and the additives, we're looking at completely different food for the most part. But I want to kind of speak on that to a certain angle. With us right here live on The Splash, registered dietitian from Henry Ford Health, Hallie Saperstein, talking about the FDA removing red dye number 3 or I should say banning it, and requiring manufacturers to remove it from their products by January 15th, 2027. Now, one thing I want to speak on is the United States compared to other countries when it comes to our food. How does the U.S. compare to other countries when it comes to food safety regulations, and what lessons can we learn from them?
So that's a good question. We actually, we compare favorably, number one. I found that really interesting during my research. In 2022, we actually ranked 13th out of 113 countries on their Global Security Index for food safety. But what we're behind in is the food additives. So food dyes and things like that. Like, for instance, in the European countries, they've actually banned red 40, the yellow dyes, and the blue dyes, and they're actually in the process of banning green dyes. But here, we're just starting out, and we're banning red number 3. So we are just in the step. We're going in the right direction, but it's definitely going to take time to make all the changes.
Yes, and from my research that I'm looking here, if I'm not mistaken, in September 2023, California became the first U.S. state to ban 6 synthetic food dyes, including red 3 and red 40 as well, for some of those risks that we were talking about. But now this is more of an entire country thing, with the FDA doing it as well. Yeah. So, and me going to different countries before, I've experienced different fruits and vegetables that look a little bit different and taste a little bit different, but now kind of putting it into context, it's because different food and safety regulations from different countries and governments. So thank you for also providing that. Also, are there any natural alternatives that exist for food coloring? And can you just explain how people can incorporate them into their diets?
Yes, so there's definitely natural food dyes that we can use So if you're baking, the easiest one is if you go to the grocery store, there's right next to the unnatural food dyes, there are natural food dye packages. Now, they might be a bit more expensive, but they're using turmeric extract, carrot extract, spirulina for green, berries for purple. They use beet juice and vegetable juice for these dyes. And the other thing is, you don't really need the dye. You can just make your things look more pretty. Like if you're making a cake, for instance, instead of using a colorful dye, you could just throw a bunch of berries on top and make it beautiful. So.
That sounds good. I'm getting hungry now.
Doesn't it? I know, right? Sounds much better than food dye.
But here's what I really want to get at, right? With this ban happening in less than 2 years now, obviously it's going to affect food manufacturers, but on a local level, it's going to affect grocery stores and the food that they supply. So how do you think this ban will impact local grocery shopping and product availability in our Greater West Bloomfield area?
So I think the products are going to, start. I think there's going to be more products, that are going to be out there as time goes on. Again, I want, I think I recommended using different websites to sort of see what's out there. There's already products on the market, like Goldfish crackers. They use natural food dyes, which is amazing. They've been doing that for quite some time. So I really don't anticipate too many bumps in the road. I actually see some of the grocery stores even promoting these products because they know that we're trying to make our foods healthier and we're trying to keep, our consumers healthy. So I think they're going to start, maybe highlighting them and end caps at grocery stores, especially the local grocery stores. I find that, people here are very health conscious in West Bloomfield. So I see it as being a benefit. But like I said, there are 3,000 products with this red dye number 3, and there's probably a third that don't have that dye. So it's just going to take some time to kind of move them off the shelves. But like you had said too, we have till January 15th of 2027.
Correct. A lot of good key information that you're giving us right here, and don't want to hold you up too much longer. Any additional information that we should know about in regards to these food additives or dyes, or just anything in general with the food that we consume?
Yeah, just be mindful. Start reading labels. Start seeing what's in products. I mean, things as simple as like brownie mix has all these different additives. And so, trying to start to look at different recipes that you can make with your family. And it's also fun, that are not using all these additives, not using processed foods. like I said, using, shopping the perimeters, because you want to avoid a lot of different things, not only just food dyes, but like high fructose corn syrup, MSG, brominated vegetable oil, which they find in sports drinks, which is crazy. They put all these things in that have been found to cause cancer, or some cause heart disease, like trans fats. And so we just want to make consumers more aware and try to, and like I said, there's so many resources at our fingertips with the web, with the internet. You can kind of shop before you actually enter the grocery store. Right. So just kind of use your resources and make good choices.
I like that you brought up the fact of reading our ingredients. I think it's a whole nother topic to get into, how to read some of these food labels, some of the words and the nutritional facts on there. That's a whole nother conversation. Maybe we'll have you back on to talk about that. But we appreciate your time and information. Once again, registered dietitian from Henry Ford Health, Hallie Saperstein. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All important information for everybody to keep in mind. Really appreciate Hallie coming on the show and for sharing her thoughts on this very important topic with red dye number 3. As we've been talking about the last few weeks, the Orchard Lake Fine Art Show is coming up very, very soon, and we have been highlighting and promoting several incredible artists who are going to be on display at this incredible event. And one of those artists is Crucifixia Grillo, who masterfully integrates paint strokes, line work, color, and texture into some very unconventional canvases. She recently joined us on the Splash Live to tell us all about her process.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
You're welcome. Thank you, Tyler.
Yeah, happy to have you on. You come to the Orchard Lake Fine Art Show in late July, bringing a variety of different pieces that all have their origins in some abstract expressionism. Tell us a little bit about your process and what art you create.
Yeah, so my process starts with actually, I'm a very, when I go to different places in the world, or I live in Florida half of the year, so around me I get my inspiration from that. I also get it from being a female, and I like to show the empowerment of that and how we can explore and move forward with our lives and still have that feminine quality. So that kind of is a projection and cohesive to my work, as well as like travels. I've traveled and lived in Italy, so that really embodies the person that I am as an artist and why I do it.
And when we mentioned that these artists sometimes come from all over the world or have influences from all over the world, you mentioned you lived in Florence, and that had a pretty big impact from my notes on your artistic development, and ultimately it reflects in many of your pieces. How did your time in Florence have influence over the art that you create?
Well, I would have to say, because it's more hands-on and not just literature, I feel like I was able to I seen where Michelangelo lived. I went to the piazza. I actually took my 2 young teenagers with me at the time. I went back to school when I turned 40 years old, and I told them, give me the highest degree you got. So during my undergrad studies, I ended up going to Florence, and it influenced me in the way where, like I said, hands-on and being able to see in the sculptures and feel it. And it's almost like I gained a freedom of, I can say whatever I want through my artwork, because in my mind, I feel that what an artist has to say, everybody else wants to say it, but we're the vessel to do so for everybody. So that's how.
And so from Florence to Florida to Michigan, so many of these places, they have influence in all of your pieces. But you've also described your art as being in part musical too. So how does music or that sort of musical rhythm or melody play a role in how you design the art you're bringing to Orchard Lake?
Yeah, that's a good question, Tyler. So when I began to do my process, I actually put my paints, I'm in my studio, so I put my paints, I consider it like a symphony where I could paint without even having to know visually where the colors are. And so it creates like this symphony to where it enables me to process the work prolifically, as well as it's like I'm singing to my own beat, so it's like a symphony and just taking your own music and taking that and bringing it into my world of art. So that's kind of how I feel a symphony is, where it's like cohesive. The music is just cohesive, but everybody kind of works together and it creates like a symphony, So that's what the way I look at it. And that's how I feel about it.
The Orchard Lake Fine Art Show returns to Powers and Daly Roads just off of Orchard Lake in West Bloomfield, July 26th and 27th. That's a Saturday and a Sunday. Many of the artists that will be there will be featured on our show in the coming weeks. And today, that includes Crucifisha Grillo, who joins us on the Splash Live, a mixed media artist who spends her time both in Florida and close to home right here in the state of Michigan. Crucifisha, when you ultimately come to the Orchard Lake Fine Art Show in late July, people walk up to your stand, they see your art. What are the immediate feelings you hope are invoked in them, or what they take from viewing and hopefully purchasing your pieces?
Well, I'll tell you what, Tyler, because I want to show you this,
Sure.
I do mixed media, and I have a few types of bodies of work, right? So the first, one body of work consists of my females, which are here. And so these are in the interior of my tent. And so when they walk in there, I feel like they have like an empowerment as a female or as a male as well, but empowerment towards the female. And then I also have my sculptures here, which that takes that as well. So if you see how I've taken my old world from being in Italy, and I've taken that and I make my sculptures, so that embodies the woman as well. And then, Tyler, I have back here, this is an actual one I just finished, and it is from a picture I had taken years ago in Florence. I'm going to be heading to Italy again this year, as well as I have artwork in Florence, and it's going to go to Milan and Rome. But this one here is indigenous to wood itself. I have created on red cedar. And the red cedar, what it does is it absorbs the paint very well, but each one of my edges, I want people to know, and when they see that I use high quality, because I feel like my artwork deserves to be on something that is meaningful. So the wood that I use is red cedar, and I take and break all of these edges, everything here, and then it goes in onto, I piece it all together, kind of like a puzzle. So I want people to see and recognize that I'm very diverse in my artwork. Yes, it's about the female when you first walk in, but it's the female who travels to all these places. So cohesively, I feel like that embodies, that. So that's what I feel. I feel like it's a freedom. I just feel free. I feel free when I make my artwork, because it's my own world, and then I can share it with others, and I want it to touch their heart. So that's why I'm here on this earth.
And that's such a big part of what art plays in people's lives. It's exploration, it's creativity, it's relaxation, but there's also that nurturing element to it. How much of a factor do you think that plays, not only in your design, but ultimately when you go to these art shows and you're interfacing with customers, ultimately their appreciation of what you've created?
Great question. So I have a client that I've been in touch with from last year, from this actual show in West Bloomfield at the Orchard Lake Fine Art Show. And since then, a wonderful person. She purchased quite a few of my pieces. I went to Fort Lauderdale. I met up with her. She made me dinner. It was great. And then as I was there, she decided she wanted another piece. I commissioned one for her as well. So I am very personable. And when people buy my pieces, I'm hoping that they will understand that they're buying a piece of me, and therefore their heart and life are going to be touched by what I created. And I know that somehow it's almost as if it was made for them, So that's what I vision in my mind.
We only have a limited amount of time for these interviews on the Splash Live. You will have unlimited time at the Orchard Lake Fine Art Show to explore so much art from so many incredible artists at one of the top 100 art shows in America, as voted 12 times by Sunshine Artist Magazine. The Orchard Lake Fine Art Show, July 26th and 27th in West Bloomfield Township. Joining us on the Splash today is Krisha Grillo, who's one of the many artists you will see there. And Krisha, we thank you so much for your time today and showing us your art.
Thank you so much, Tyler. I hope to see everybody there. It's a great show.
It is a great show, and we certainly will be there with the rest of the Civic Center team. But that's going to do it for us today here on our show. Big thank you to all of our guests and for everyone on our team for helping to make this show possible. I've been your host, Jake Schaff. Live, local, social. It's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.